I'm really looking forward to the concert tomorrow with Terry Riley and Niti on the tabla. And we just met today for the first time. We worked together a little bit just to see how we could collaborate tomorrow. And we roughly decided on a mode. And we felt that we should leave it to spontaneity. So we didn't really do what is called a rehearsal, because both Terry and I have the same view and approach that the music comes out more live. It becomes a living being when we leave it to spontaneity. So at least principally we agreed on that. Now it'll all be left for the moment tomorrow and just, let things happen.
And what mode did you choose?
Roughly, it's a morning melody in Indian raga system. It's a pentatonic scale, basically. It has the tonic, the flat second, the natural fourth, natural fifth, and the flat seventh, in that order. That's a scale. But then we are adding other notes to it, and we are kind of touching other ragas which are all very close by. So we are keeping it very flexible and not sticking to rigidly to just one mode. Okay. So we are allowing other modes to come in.
So that's not really minimal.
Yes, it's not minimal, but Terry suggested that we let other modes come in, because he was also trying the little avenues to put in a little bit, you can say, inputs of jazz also in it. So we'll see how things work, And minimal in the sense, the minimal is a name that came much later, Terry was telling me, after he had made the In C, much later. However, basically Indian music by nature is minimal music. It starts with the minimum notes and tries to express the maximum with the help of minimum number of notes. That's the essential principle of Indian classical music, and elaboration. And as things build up, then more and more things start creeping in, more notes, more activity. Initially it's all meditative and slow, and then there is more activity happening musically. And many ideas come in, not just adding to the melody itself, but even rhythmic possibilities start creeping in a performance. And then you get something, you get a whole picture. Then it's hard to call it minimal, because there's so much happening within, with just the given.
Yeah, and I was wondering, you met for the first time. Did you know his music before?
No, honestly, when this initial correspondence started with the Muziekgebouw emailing me, and I immediately agreed to perform, because I have always grown up with a very open mind. On one hand, I'm a traditionalist, I'm a purist as far as Indian classical music is concerned. People look at me that way in India. But I have always had a very open mind. I have, since my childhood, my father, the great tabla maestro, Niti Ranjan Ghosh, had encouraged me to listen to all kinds of good music. So right since childhood, I was exposed to Western classical, jazz, rock, blues, other folk music of Eastern Europe, and so on. So all this was part of my growing up. And with that background, I felt, let me see what's this music all about. I landed here day before in Amsterdam. I still had no idea really who was Terry Riley and what was his music about. As I spoke to people, my hosts here, I came to know Terry is a highly respected person, especially in Amsterdam. He is so immensely popular. Then I checked the internet yesterday and I saw a lot of his clips. And it was interesting. I felt, wow, this is essentially in principle, it's working on the Indian music principles. But he has explored a lot of ideas from non-Indian sources also, especially Western jazz. And I just heard one or two pieces and I felt, yeah, let's see, maybe. I was kind of curious. Not sure whether this will really gel well, whether something good will come out, but let's take the risk. And today we sat together, we all performed, and I met him for the first time today. Tomorrow is the concert. And I felt we are going to click very well. I mean, we clicked very well today. So I hope and pray that we can do even better than today in tomorrow's concert.
Yes. What I find so interesting about you, that you play the tabla and the sitar, and you sing also. It's very different. I mean, it's really something rare. How come?
Unfortunately, I have to confess it is rare. Because in India also, in my generation, there's hardly a sitar player who plays tabla equally good, or a tabla player who plays equally good, well on sitar, and then vocal music too. You kind of found this kind of combination, maybe not all the three, but at least two. Tabla players used to be, from the earlier generations, very good singers. From my father's generation, and even the one generation before my father. Most of the tabla players were excellent singers. And probably because of that, their tabla had a lot of melodic element, the aesthetic coating in their percussion was much greater than what it is in today's tabla percussion music in India. Today it has narrowed down to percussion. At that time there was more music. It was beyond percussion. And I grew up with those values. And I have tried to maintain those aesthetic values in my own tabla. And what further helped this thing was, since my childhood, I received a very sound training in vocal music simultaneously with tabla. And at a much later age, around 10 or so, I started sitar, 10 or 11. So compared to tabla, I started sitar very late, because tabla and singing probably started right from infancy. Sitar became also a part of me. And I pursued all the three disciplines. It was very natural. My father was a very good singer and a very good tabla player. But he was not a sitar player, but he had tremendous knowledge of sitar repertory as well as techniques. So I learned all my sitar from my father. People know him as a tabla player. People can't believe that he could teach me sitar. But anyway, I was very lucky to have a teacher. My father as my teacher. I didn't have to go places looking for a good teacher. I got everything ready-made. It's, musically speaking, born with a silver spoon in the mouth, musically. So I got all that from my father, inheritance also, and what I benefited most was the presence of many great historical musicians, historical figures, who were all my father's friends or his seniors, who used to visit our home off and on. It was kind of a routine thing to meet bump into great musicians since my childhood. And all that, it added up to the total impact of my musical thinking, my musical understanding and perception. So I'm lucky. I'm able to. Well, people, if they like it, I'm able to give them some measure of tabla, a measure of sitar, and a little bit of singing. Today, as we were rehearsing, Terry got into a mood to sing, and he asked me to join. And I joined, and I think it worked beautifully. We are going to sing tomorrow together.